Elections, that's where we're at now. So, the big day yesterday, eligible voters will soon know which parties are contesting the May elections. Yesterday was D-Day for registered political parties as they had to make their final submissions to the Independent Electoral Commission or IEC. They had to send their candidate lists and pay a deposit of 200,000 Rand if standing for the national ballot and 45,000 Rand for each provincial ballot. So to give us an update, we are joined in studio by Sy Mamabolo, who is the Chief Electoral Officer of the IEC. Good to see you. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you very much and good morning.
So I imagine that it was quite a scramble towards the end, or not really. Did you find that the parties were quite prepared and ready and everybody was there in time?
Everybody was there in time. No drama at the end, unfortunately. But that is because,
unfortunately. Do you look forward to that little sort of last-minute sprint?
It would have been nice to have a bit of drama at the end, but we were disappointed in that regard. But our online candidate submission system working well. Most parties, close to 70% of all parties that submitted use the online system. Very few that came yesterday and the day before to make manual submissions. Now we are capturing all the data and we'll give an indication to the country how many parties per ballot there would be and how many parties there would be in each of the 9 provincial elections. And then we will then give notice of non-compliance to political parties, if not today, certainly before the end of tomorrow, so that those candidates who are not compliant can correct that non-compliance. And then next week we will then issue the list of candidates, and there'll be an opportunity for people to inspect those lists and to object should they be minded to so doing.
Okay, let's look at numbers now. Are you able to tell us in terms of how many parties are going to be contesting for that top position, national elections? How many parties got there in time?
At the moment, our estimation is that 39 parties will be on the national ballot. We will confirm that in the course of the day. But yes, probably 39 parties on the national ballot.
And of those 39, is it, I'm really asking you questions, but in terms of from the 39 parties that are going to be contesting provincially, how many of those would you sort of look to?
On the province, I think we have an average of 31 parties on the provincial ballots. Yeah. That's the average.
So it's quite a high number. I mean, if we look back to the previous election, are you able to sort of draw a comparison? Are there more parties contesting these elections than before?
Certainly. In 2014, we had 29 parties on the national ballot. So we're talking an increase of about 10. The province with the highest number of contestants in 2014 was the Western Cape at 32. So one assumes that they would have increased that number too. But we'll have that detail in the course of the day.
Okay, so you don't have those numbers in terms of the province that has the most parties. But quite interesting, 39 parties is what we're thinking now are going to be contesting these elections. I want to look to, because obviously there's been great talk about the ANC list and the EFF list and what the DA are doing, but those are the bigger parties. Those are the parties that we obviously expected that were going to be paying the deposits, coming in, contesting all the major provinces. In fact, can I ask you that in terms of, obviously we know the ANC, but the EFF, DA, are they contesting all of the provinces in South Africa?
Indeed, they are. There's quite a number of parties who are contesting all the 10 elections. The DA, the ANC, the EFF, and so on and so on.
Yeah. Now, I want to look at the smaller parties because I think that's where a lot of people are laying some interest. The PAC, did they submit on time? Are they in under one banner?
We are happy that the PAC will be contesting these elections. They will be contesting in all the provinces under one banner, following the court decision last week Friday. Really, I think that judicial intervention was quite helpful. For we were at the risk of not allowing the PAC to participate, but that judgment then paved the way for them to be able to submit as a united party.
BLF, because there are some first-time parties coming in, and we can tell that from the list here, 10 more than there were in 2014. So I want to talk to some of the smaller ones. The BLF, did they get everything? That's Blackland First. Did they get everything in time?
Yes, they have paid. They are contesting the National Assembly and 4 other provinces. So again, we're happy that there are new entrants. Even as that increases our logistical challenges to the extent that the size of the ballot increases, we do think that political participation in the elections is quite important. New players coming through, it can only talk to the enrichment of our electoral democratic experience.
Yeah. In terms of another 2 headline parties, I think people are also looking towards those. ATM, and I think that is Jimmy Manyi's party, the African Transformation Movement. Is that also contesting? All sorted there?
It is participating. They'll be, I think, participating in all the 10 elections. So again...
in all the provinces. So all the elections, provinces, provincial and the national elections.
Indeed.
Claudia Motsoeneng's party?
It will be participating certainly in the national elections and a few other provinces.
Provinces. So there are a lot of newcomers to look forward to sort of hearing from and perhaps voting for, if that's what you're interested in. There's now, I suppose, a time where it's really crunch time for the IEC now. You've got your party lists. You've got to go through them with a fine comb. But now, talk to us about the process from this moment onwards now.
Look, yesterday placed us in a different gear in terms of the preparations. A number of things will now have to happen. Firstly, we will have to issue to parties, as I indicated, notices of non-compliance to sort out non-compliance issues. And then we will issue the list for objection and so on. And the Commission will consider those objections and settle them. At the same time, the fact that parties have now submitted means we can be able to generate ballot papers. We will start the ballot printing process shortly. It's a very complicated process because you're printing a huge quantity of ballots, close to just over 50 million ballots within 10 days, and ensure that those ballots are packaged and delivered to the right voting stations on election day. The training of staff is now underway, and that should be concluded before the end of April. Voters who intend to vote outside of the Republic have notified us, 28,000 thereabout, people who will be voting at the missions of South Africa, and they will be voting on Saturday, the 27th of April.
Okay. So, because I know that internationally, the deadline was to register by the 13th of March. If you lived overseas, so the register was closing then?
It closed yesterday. We have about 28,000 people who have successfully notified us of their intention to vote outside of the country.
I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the complaints and the IEC investigating the alleged Bosasa-funded election war room. The IEC has confirmed that they received the complaint from the DA, and basically the allegation, just to bring viewers up to speed, was that Bosasa paid up to 6 million rand for the war room, constituting a breach of the Electoral Code of Conduct. What's happening there?
We have a panel of legal firms that assist us with investigations. The matter has been referred to one of them. They're looking at it. They'll invite, as per normal principles of natural justice, will invite the ANC to offer comment on the matter, and a report will be compiled with a recommendation.
Okay. Any other complaints? Because we know that there was a big issue with regard to EFF leader Julius Malema and journalist Karima Brown. Have you received a complaint from her? And if so, what are you going to do about that?
We have received the complaint. Similarly, it has been referred to one of the legal firms on the panel who have initiated the process of receiving submissions from the complainant as well as the person against whom the complaint is made. So, and then the matter will be analyzed, the facts will be analyzed against the Electoral Code of Conduct, and a recommendation will then be made to the Commission.
If a recommendation is made that a party, I mean, could it be as serious as a recommendation that that party cannot contest the elections? Would that have to be followed through and they will be removed off of the ballot paper?
The Commission can make that decision. That decision is within the purview of the Electoral Court. So should the report come and say there is substance and that there has in fact been a transgression of the Electoral Code of Conduct, the matter will have to be referred to the Electoral Court for adjudication and for the meting out of sanctions. And there's a broad jurisdiction of sanctions that the court has. Fines, removing a certain number of votes from the party, debarring certain candidates, and so on and so on. But that matter is at the door of the Electoral Court.
Okay, so there's a range of penalties that can be imposed against a party. I mean, I suppose the harshest would be removing them from a ballot.
That's available to the court as an option. Yeah.
All right. So as it stands right now, I mean, again, voter education, it is the most important thing. We've got more registered voters than we've ever had before. That was what I last heard. What are we looking at for South Africans registered to vote?
26.7 million South Africans on the roll. We will certify the voters' roll on the 18th of March. And we will also be talking to those South Africans and saying to them, on the 8th of May, we do nothing but go to the station to cast a ballot. So we are motivated. We will be motivating them as parties do the same. So we also are anticipating a bigger turnout in this election. We're hoping for an 80% turnout at least in this election, and we think that that is within the realms of possibility.
Sy, thank you for talking to us. Sy Mamabolo is the Chief Electoral Officer for the IEC, talking to us about the upcoming elections. The candidates and all of the parties contesting the elections had to submit their lists and pay their deposits yesterday, or pay the monies to contest. And we're now looking at about 39 parties that are going to be contesting the national elections here in South Africa. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's take a break. News after this.